Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. It looks like the producers of Fast 7 have found a solution to their incredibly delicate dilemma of having to complete the film after Paul Walker's tragic death. And I think it's a surprisingly good one. Basically, what they're going to do is have his brother Cody Walker fill in for him and shoot him from far away. But if they need to go in for a close-up, they're going to digitally impose Paul Walker's face on Cody Walker's body. So first off, will this work? I say yes. Cody Walker looks remarkably like his brother. They have the same body type and they have the same hair. So I think with today's technology, you'll be able to create that seamless, believable transition and keep the reality of the film, not break that. Also, word is that because James Wan is new to this kind of, action-packed filmmaking, they've shot all the big talking scenes first so he could ease into it. And mostly what's left is action sequences. So it's more reasonable to have faraway shots in that scenario. And also, Cody Walker is a stuntman, so I think he can pull them off. So I think in terms of just whether or not this is a believable fix, I think it is. Now, is it the right thing to do morally? I think definitely so. I think by using his brother, you're still kind of, keeping the Paul Walker, keeping it in the family instead of bringing in another actor, which was somehow discussed as well. Maybe just scrap the film and just replace him entirely, which I think would have been a horrible idea. But by doing this, Cody Walker is enabling his brother to stay a part of the franchise that he helped build and he helped make a global sensation. And Paul Walker did make a lot of this film. He shot a lot of it. He was in the middle of production when he died. They were on a break for Thanksgiving. So it's great that he gets to continue to be a part of it and that his final work is honored. So I think it's a remarkable idea. I think it's really good. It's a surprisingly good solution. It seems organic. It seems like the right thing to do. And I think it's only going to make Fast 7 a stronger film. Now, on that note, I think they're going to make a lot of money off of Fast 7, especially if they're going to be able to have these poignant shots. Paul Walker, his last film, a lot of the feelings that people had watching Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. So, as you might have noticed, they're giving proceeds to ROW, Reach Out Worldwide, Paul Walker's charitable organization, when you rent or purchase Fast 6. And they're actually making that a big part of the promotional campaign. And of course, it's because they want people to know they're doing that, but it's so prominent that sometimes it reeks a little bit of like making that an added incentive to maybe purchase or watch the movie when you normally wouldn't have. So on that note, as many people have said, Universal really should be disclosing how much of the proceeds they're giving, so it doesn't just seem like a marketing gimmick. And I think they should be open about that and upfront. And I think this is something that should continue to Fast 7. Fast 7, if they do this, which I think they're going to with Cody Walker, is going to make a ton of money. It could join the $1 billion club. So Universal is certainly going to make a lot. And so I think a good, like maybe 10%, like a very good portion of that really should go to Paul Walker's organization because they're going to be making money off of, the living legend that Paul Walker is going to become, that eerie feeling of a character, almost like having an actor transition from real life to living, almost continuing on the silver screen, living forever there. And it's going to be tough to watch. It's going to be touching to watch. I think a lot of people are going to want to see it. So Universal should continue to do the right thing, just like they're doing by bringing Cody Walker into the mix. But so far, so good. I think they're showing amazing tact while dealing with what is no doubt a really difficult situation. All right, so that's the first story of the day. The second story of the day, speaking of popular franchises, is Harry Potter. Word came out, of course we know that Warner Brothers is continuing the films with Fantastic Beasts, but J.K. Rowling has decided to finally make a deal with one of the theater producers have been approaching her over the years to do kind of a prequel to Harry Potter on the stage. And it's going to be focusing on his life, maybe the other characters as well, but right now, mostly the boy who lived under the stairs in the cupboard. That's how they're promoting it. His time before he went to Hogwarts, when he was an orphan and an outcast. But what I hear is less magic, smaller budget, something that we can actually do on the stage. But I don't know. I think this might be a step too far in milking the franchise. This is when it starts to leave a bad taste in my mouth. Just like what I said about, the Reach Out Worldwide contributions. I think that Fantastic Beasts makes sense. It's leaving the Harry Potter characters behind, but staying in the universe. But I get, because that also takes place before the stories of Harry Potter, but so far those characters really won't come into the mix so much. But I feel that having this play version and bringing it on the stage just seems like you're just going for a cash grab. So I'm kind of actually a little disappointed that J.K. Rowling would do this. She's not writing it either. She's just a producer on it. They're going to have someone else handle the creative here. She'll definitely be overseeing it, and she doesn't have the time because she's writing Fantastic Beasts and is becoming more involved in the film franchise. But I don't know, it's just something about this doesn't seem right to me. But I'd be curious how you guys feel. Can you just not get enough Harry Potter? You're totally cool with it? And also, do you want to go back to Harry Potter as a child? I mean, I think maybe it would be more interesting to explore their life as adults after Hogwarts when they decided to become, more human and just live their lives. Like, that would be very interesting to me. I would be perhaps more interested in that. And also, can another actor play Harry besides Daniel Radcliffe? Is that something that can happen? Is Harry going to become a character like James Bond or like Indiana Jones, as people are debating that should become, where you can recast? The character can live on beyond the actor. So that's my thoughts on it, but I'm not a huge hardcore Harry Potter fan. I enjoy the Harry Potter franchise, but I'm not like, I haven't read all the books. So I'm curious how you guys feel about this news about a play. So that's the second story of the day. The third story of the day is more X-Men news, as it was announced that Rogue has been cut from Days of Future Past. Bryan Singer said he felt very bad about it. She was only in one scene. He said, I think the quote was, an embarrassment of riches. There were just too many good scenes. We had to cut one. That's ridiculous. Who cuts good scenes? If it's really great, you keep it. It just clearly didn't fit with the narrative of what they were doing. And he also said it was shot early in the production, and that's why it didn't work, which also makes me a little nervous because I'm like, what is this movie evolving while you're making it? Didn't you have a set script? How does this no longer work in the film? But he said Anna Paquin was a real pro about it. She was cool. And so he said maybe it'll be on the DVD. Maybe that's all along this was the plan, to make you buy that DVD down the line. We were talking about it on Friday's Morning Movie News about what it takes to make you buy a physical copy of a DVD, and perhaps making extras like this available is one of those proponents they're going to have to start doing. But the reason I'm disappointed is, as an X-Men comic book reader, Rogue is one of my favorite characters. She doesn't have that much great screen or page time, I guess is what you would say, in the comics today. Her character has kind of gone by the wayside. I think Chris Claremont kind of ruined her by making her get a grip on her powers. I think that when you take away that conflict, I think you lose a lot of what's so central to the character. It makes her so appealing, that struggle. But I was excited to see Anna Paquin return to the character because she got a lot of heat, a lot of grief for doing not such a great job of the character with the first three films. And that wasn't entirely her fault. It's because Bryan Singer, I guess for budgetary reasons, didn't give her full power set. And so she was just Rogue with the angst. And if you don't have the angst, someone who's personally weak, but, like weak on the inside, but strong on the outside, it was that dichotomy that made her so interesting. When you get rid of that, I think it robs the character a lot of what makes her interesting. So I think I was hoping to see Rogue grow into that character that she can be, and also to see Anna Paquin maybe redeem herself in the role. I think Anna Paquin has grown a lot of an actress on True Blood. She plays a spunky Southerner there, and I think she had a chance to really nail it here and be the Rogue finally that everybody wanted to see. So it's just a shame, but we'll see how it turns out on the DVD. But and also, we told you had too many characters, Bryan Singer, and now you're forced to cut them in the editing room. So I think that's poor planning on Singer's part. That rarely happens when I think that a character gets cut. And I just get concerned if maybe he's making these films from a fanboy perspective instead of a creativeness. You need to balance it. All right, so those are the three stories of the day. The question of the day comes from Christopher Humphreys, who says, "Hey, Grace, I was just wondering why movies that aim to win Oscars have to go on an Oscar campaign. Shouldn't the people deciding who to vote for be able to make independent decisions without being swayed by a strong campaign? Thanks, Chris." Thanks for asking, Chris. And as somebody responded to you, I believe I've touched on this before, but we are in the awards season. Instead of making you have to search for it, you might not have seen that video. A lot of people might not have seen my answer to this before, so I thought I'd address it again. So basically, what's going on here is so many movies come out in a year that there just isn't, people have a hard time remembering it. Often when I ask people, what was your favorite movie of the year, just casually, they go, oh my goodness, I can't even remember everything I've seen. Now, of course, you would think that the people who are voting for these awards have a responsibility to sit down and do the research. You can find a list easily online. You can vote in Beyond the Trailer's top 10 poll for 2013 films. Link is in the video description. And I've listed them all for you there, and it was very easy for me to find the films. But I think that there are a couple of problems here. First off, some people, they just don't want to do the effort. They're not getting paid to give out these awards. It isn't a job. So that's one reason. Second is the political game. People like to play the political game. They like the favor that comes with it. They like going to these, part of the campaign is going to these great speaker series where the stars of the film and the directors and the talent, you get to meet them in person and they schmooze you and you go to a screening. They give you a wonderful lunch. And people like being a part of that. So they don't want to lose that aspect. I mean, for a lot of times, these voters are people who are on the fringe of the industry. They've made it into the guild, but they're not like main players. So this is their only time of year where the people, like the inner circle of Hollywood, kind of invites the fringe in, or it doesn't maybe invite them in, but tries to appeal to them. Goes, hey guys, how you doing? It's totally fake, but I guess the fringe is like, hey, it's all I've got, so I want it. So I think they will be very reluctant to give that up. The other thing is that one film might be like, you know what, I'm not going to campaign. I'm going to stand on my merit. But once one film starts campaigning, the rest of them have to campaign. Because someone might be like, well, I wanted to vote for you, but for instance, Harvey Weinstein wined and dined me so much that I just felt I needed to vote for his movies. Or I was so starstruck by all the people they brought into the room that I forgot about your movie entirely. So that movie goes, well, now I need to compete. Now, of course, when you start bringing in a budget, a campaign budget, a studio only has so much money to spend on Oscar campaigns. So they're going to have to start cherry picking which movies they're going to push. And they're not always going to push the best film. They're going to push the film they think has the best shot at actually winning. Because when you win awards, or at least get nominations, it gives you, hopefully, a box office push. So that's a big reason why also that, you're going to pick what you want. If a film did really well, you're like, well, maybe I don't need to push it as much. It already made a lot of money for me, but I'm going to push this smaller film that so far hasn't made any money in the hopes that it will get a bunch of nominations and therefore make more money. Now, it's similar to politics. For instance, a lot of times when you go to vote, you're like, I don't like any of the candidates. And it's the same thing. It's not like we can just sit there and go, okay, well, who do we know? Who do we think would be good at this? We're just going to draft them. You don't just think about all the good candidates in the world and who would do a good job being president or mayor. You have to pick from who got the support, the money. At the end of the day, it always boils down to money. Who had the money to run the campaign? Who was backed by the political parties, which are like studios. So it's just the system. And, everybody who has a part of the system to some degree benefits everyone, which is why it's in place. And it's like you have to play the game in order to win it. I think a lot of times people go, well, I think the game is corrupt, or I don't like the way the game is run. But I still want to win it. But you can't win if you don't play. So that's why it's so hard to knock these things out and to change the way things are run, because it's just, people, even the voters are bought into it. So it's just a reality of the way it is. I wish that was the case, that someone would sit there and do the research, and maybe someday there will be an organization that does that. But even critics, it's just, once one studio came up with this idea of campaigning, it was just the end for everybody, because everybody then you have to compete. If one person does it, we all have to do it. So it's just like campaign finance reform. I wish that was more successful to make more of an even playing field. But until maybe the Academy would come in and go, you can't campaign. No campaigning is allowed. But they're not going to do it because they get a lot of benefits from that. Their pockets get greased. They get to have great, series when people can come in and be invited to see it. And, it gets their name out there. So, and also, you have a ratings involved. You have that people want to tune in to ABC to watch the Oscars. So it's just so many different things benefit from it and come into play and there's money involved, in terms of ratings and ads and the box office, that it just can't be the altruistic, simply what is the best film. I hope that answers your question, Chris. Thank you for asking, and thank you for whoever responded as well. I'm glad you remembered that I touched on that before. It means a lot. So that's today's morning movie news. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you'd like to see. There will be no morning movie news on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, but I'll be back on Thursday. So write down below what you'd like to see covered then, and any questions you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.